Hello, is anyone there? This is the Gorillaz Now for Gorillaz fans. This is a comprehensive perspective of the Now with regards to all 8 Gorillaz albums. The best way to articulate a perspective of this album would be under 3 contextual categories. The highlights of the album, how this qualifies for me as a true fan, and a brief history of all Gorillaz albums. So now we move into Gorillaz, the Now True Fan album highlights. Humility, yup, the title says it all. In today's climate of hyper-separation and the feeling of being disconnected from government and this disunity between people and government, it seems like there is an invisible barrier where people feel like our voices are useless and unheard. And if we have the chance to break down these walls, we would, just for the sake of unity. There's no need to internalize this separation of ourselves from each other in the first place. Remembering we are all one if we are humble. Humility. The first track of the Now is like opening the front door to a bright, beautiful, blue, sunny day. We need this kind of music. It helps us to remember that there is more going on in the world than just our current climate. The same beautiful planet has always been our home for the past 200,000 years. And we cannot forget that. A perfect example of music over concept. Making the same statement as the first Gorillaz debut album. It's the music that you choose. And we need this. We need albums that we can listen to and make us feel great within ourselves. Artists like this were plentiful in the past, such as Bradley Knowles, Anthony Kiedis, Bob Marley. Number 2, trance. I always knew the Gorillaz had it in them. Synth pop, now called Witch House. The likes of Kraftwerk, Joy Division, Velvet Underground, The Knife, Biss, and Trust. A borderline queer goth song where Albarn 2D transforms into a mixture of Lick Broccoli and Jello Biafra. This is his trance. This is his effigy. Riddled with the pursuit of sexual anxieties and preferences, especially with regards to exploration of ourselves sexually, personally, and individually. When the person you are, when you walk through the door of your house alone, you can kick off your shoes, play video games, build models, masturbate, dress and drag. You can do who you really are. You don't have to be anything anymore. You turn into your effigy, a celebration of yourself, or as 2D says, dance, trance. Oh Hollywood, if you've ever been there, the first thing you would say is, what the fuck? Or in other words, jealousy and dark times. Jealousy is gunfire. It makes you kill the vibe. This is all you get out west. Everyone wants something to do with you, and you will come to find out that that something that they want to do with you is truly nothing at all. Everyone plans to be famous out west, and they will treat you like this. Hey, how are you? With a big smile on their face. Can you make me famous? Again, going back to Bob Marley freeing people with music. If Jah didn't love I, if Jah didn't love I, if Jah didn't love I, if I didn't love I, would I be around today? Would I be around to say? These are albums that you can listen to and walk away being a better person. They do a lot of the spiritual work for you. Sorcerers demonstrates how words and music have been used and change over time, as the Gorillaz have always had a way with words. Here the Gorillaz seem to be speaking very straight and clearly. But I think this reflects our need for straightforward honesty in 2020 society, instead of messages of crashing cars into bridges and not caring. Everybody cool down. Everybody see yourself. Everybody on time. Everybody hold on. Everybody hold on to your inner visions. I need these straightforward reminders every now and then. Gorillaz has always been focused on these straightforward personal reminders. Brother, sister too, do what you must do. Don't trust people you meet. They may promise you that the river ain't deep. No squealing, remember that it's all in your head. After a hard day, it's time to wake up. I need to make up after a hard day. It's the money or stop. People seem to walk through you. And late in a star's life, it begins to explode. And all the people in a dream wait for the machine to pick the shit up, leave it clean. Kid, hang over here, what you're learning in school. The rise of an eastern sun is gonna be good for everyone. The radio station disappears, turning into thin air. The DJ was the last to leave. She had well-conditioned hair, was beautiful, but nothing really was there. Can't stand your loneliness. Maybe in time you'll want to be mine. Just to name a few. The fall was a reflection of Albarn's tour in the United States. during the Gorillaz Plastic Beach tour. His way of adding a bit more music to Plastic Beach. This reflection enabled 10 of the 50 states to be covered between 2 albums, The Fall and the Now Now. If Albarn intends to cover all 50 states between studio albums, we have a lot more Gorillaz music to come. I would love to hear an Alaska song. That's going to be a cool song. I would name all of them, but the Animaniacs have already done that. So don't ask me. Fuck it, fine. Ready? 1. Phono to Arizona. 2. Detroit. 3. Chi-Town. Chicago, for those who don't know. 4. The Snake in Dallas. 5. Aspen Forest. 6. Bobby in Phoenix. 7. California and the Slipping of the Sun. 8. Seattle Yodel. 9. Hollywood. Count it, at least as far as songs about states go. 10. Kansas. 11. Idaho. 12. Lake Zurich. Speaking of Lake Zurich, this was a phenomenal techno jam. For a long time, Albarn has been putting together instrumentals which always sounded like techno songs. They didn't have a hand on it quite yet, but I could always hear it in the music all the way back from Blur song number 2. I know that's a little bit of a stretch, I know. It's just the repetitive opening riff in the song just kind of foreshadows the eventual building towards an electronic trip-hop lounge song like Slow Country or Double Bass or 1920, White Light, Dare, Rhinestone Eyes, Glitter Freeze, To Binge, but the techno catalyst was obviously Donkomatic. This is the first plunge into the instrumentals, at least as far as the Donkomatic machine goes. After the Human Techno album, they had enough practice with techno, and here they are with Lake Zurich, a techno track disguised as a funk disco dance tune. The musicality here is so advanced that they can continue to experiment with 4 boundaries of music. As they settle a melody in the song, they drop a melody onto that melody, creating a totally new melody that has such a new sound. Wait, isn't that Daft Punk? Gorillaz, Daft Punk, Daft Gorillaz? Oh shit, how have Gorillaz and Daft Punk not worked together yet? So anyways, they combine the 2 melodies and they work completely. Not only are they redefining music, but they're also redefining themselves. Magic City, it's the money or stop. For a long time, Gorillaz have painted landscapes in our lives that epitomize the satirical and socially corrupt aspect of our lives, such as Feel Good Inc., Superfast Jellyfish, Melancholy Hill, Fire Coming Out of a Monkey's Head, but this song was as straightforward as possible. You put me up here in the penthouse and painted it red, white, and blue. I filled the canyons with my ego. Look, there's a billboard on the moon. Nailing how ridiculous America makes itself out to be. That is the American dream, to be treated with importance, and so how far absurd it can go. Back to reggae. Rastas call it Babylon. Gorillaz call it Magic City. Back to the debut album, I think that this mental prison referred to as Magic City may be what 2D is trying to describe with Gravity. Fireflies, a song that inserts glimpses of everyday reality into music for a much more deeper meaning than just the everyday. All the crazies put on buses sent up here to find you, living on the limits. In most cities, buses are a sure place to find crazies. All you ever get from the sonnet is the count of falling men? Every calling cost made to your heart. You're in the kind of game that put the force in me. I was ever chasing fireflies. It's fucking true. Every book, every song of broken-hearted men, every song ending, defeated by the world. It's good to hear a story about a person anchoring someone from someone else's fleeting distractions, or ever chasing fireflies. Fireflies Chased by 1% almost sounds like the same song. Truly quiet music. Very iconic Gorillaz. No doubt almost video game-ish. But talk about a summer song. And I don't mean Jack Johnson or Ben Harper. I mean Summertime and the Living's Easy. Big Willie Summertime. The first of the month. I'm in love with Mary Jane. Easy skating, we jam in summertime music. I will always think of you. That's why I'm calling you. On my way through. Everyone has one. That's all I have to say. We're now moving into how the Now qualifies for me with context of the Gorillaz albums. This argument is largely broken down into content versus concept. This is qualified for me as a true Gorillaz fan as a Gorillaz album. There are so many types of Gorillaz fans. There are original Gorillaz fans, there are Demon Days fans, there are Plastic Beach fans, There are even side fans. I am an original Gorillaz debut true fan. Now here's where things are going to get a little bit weird. I'm going to begin to define Gorillaz albums based on their album concept versus content magnitude. As much as I am a Gorillaz fan, I am still willing to drop albums off if they pack too much concept over content. Or again, whether the music outweighs the concept or the concept outweighs the music. Because unfortunately, I do feel like the Gorillaz fall into a concept trap in a lot of ways. So here's my ranking of the Gorillaz albums from more content to more concept. Number 1, more content. Gorillaz debut album. Number 2, The Now Now. Number 3, The Fall. Number 4, G-Sides. Number 5, Plastic Beach. Number 6, D-Sides. Number 7, Humans. And just to be nice, we will include number 8, the album where the concept outweighs the music most, Demon Days. I'm sure most people won't agree, and I know that Demon Days is a lot of people's favorite album, but again, for me, it was a dual concept album, not a pure content-based Gorillaz album. And listen, I know a lot of people are saying Demon Days was the only Gorillaz album I thought there was. And Demon Days was the only Gorillaz album I ever liked. And I grew up on Demon Days because I'm only 5 years old. Anyways, that's how I'm measuring the Now Now with regards to the entire Gorillaz discography, spanning in content versus concept. Some concept albums can work well, some don't. I truly got into Gorillaz based on their content, not their concept. I know that's a little bit tricky based on the fact that the Gorillaz is a virtual band, which is hypothetically concept-ish and gimmicky from the beginning. However, they were setting out to make good content music. A perfect example of an album that was based on concept but did exceedingly well was Black Sabbath's Paranoid. Originally called War Pegs, but the album name was changed due to fear of backlash from Vietnam supporters. I believe what made this concept album so successful was Butler saying that War Pigs was totally against the Vietnam War and about how these rich politicians and rich people start all the wars for their benefit and get all the poor people to die for them. Vocalist Ozzy Osbourne stated that the group knew nothing about Vietnam. It was just an anti-war song. I believe those two factors made this concept album work. War Pigs did not sell well, but became an iconic song. Several critics considering it one of the best metal anti-war songs ever recorded. The album Paranoid was even indoctrinated into the Rolling Stones' top 500 greatest albums of all time. Demon Days was a concept album, mixed between two concepts: a reaction to 9/11 and the Iraq War, and a Gorillaz movie which is supposed to be called The Celebrity Harvest. This film was loosely based on a premise of ego and false icon worship. A loose premise of the film goes, Russell quit the band, Murdoch splits and makes a metal band, 2D, Noodle, and Russell in the Kong studios. They all go eventually psychotic to the point where they almost become cannibals. Just in time, one of the spirits, Del, pops out of Russell's head and chases Murdoch around the Kong studios. Outside, there's a giant zombie apocalypse occurring, and Murdoch becomes a zombie. I'm assuming from production stills and posters that the space monkeys come and save the day. That's inconclusive. Regardless, the project was scrapped. Demon Days was intended to be comprised of the concepts from the Celebrity Harvest film. The film was supposed to take place in a world where sunlight does not exist and the world is sitting in eternal night. Demon Days was supposed to be the soundtrack for the Celebrity Harvest film. This album was also infused with concepts of reaction from 9/11. More Than Demon Days was supposed to be about 9/11. It was about drilling for oil specifically. Reportedly, the album was titled Happy Landfill. Another early title was reported to be Reject False Icons. Even if it was not a concept album, certain lyrics do allude to the idea that it was. Your water's from a bottle, mine is from a canteen. At nights I hear shots ring, so I'm a light sleeper. The cost of life, it seems to get cheaper. Out in the desert with my street sweeper. The war is over, so said the speaker, with his flight suit on. Maybe to him I'm just a pawn, so he can advance. Remember when we used to dance? Man, all I want to do is dance. While Albarn and Hewlett are not candid about their influences on this album with regards to the Iraq War and 9/11 and the movie, reportedly, the lyrical content of the Dirty Harry rap, which is from the perspective of a soldier in the Iraq War, we are left in no doubt that this is about the Iraq War, as President Bush wore a flight suit to announce the end of the war. The soldier says that he's the reason why you fill up your Isuzu, and Isuzu being a type of motorbike, i.e. the war was for oil. Here the theme of lost innocence, particularly of the youth, is reinforced. You would think it was about war vets. Fire Coming Out of a Monkey's Head, meanwhile, is a parable by Dennis Hopper, which seems to have clear parallels with the war for oil. This is also reinforced by the first chorus lyric of Fire Coming Out of a Monkey's Head, which tells the tale of violent invaders of the parable is singled out as the USA. Ecological damage to the earth. This is not dealt with explicitly, but the implicit references build up. Fire Coming Out of a Monkey's Head can be taken as an eco-parable. The earth can finally take no more damage, resulting in a day after tomorrow scenario where Mother Earth wants us all to leave. Tony Blair's decision to commit British troops to the US-led campaign was and still is an open wound, a drawn-out exercise that has never really ended. Dirty Harry does not appear in the lyrics, but as a reference to Clint Eastwood's gun-toting vigilante character, implies that this is the way that much of the world sees George Bush. Furthering on to D Side's lyrics referencing the Iraq War. Lord, hear me now, don't put an English voice, crashing out into the noise, electric fences and guns. Okay, so I torn Demon Days apart enough for myself. Ultimately, in all fairness to musicians, it often does come down to this question with regards to concept albums. Does the music outweigh the concept, or does the concept outweigh the music? In other words, does the content outweigh the concept, or does the concept outweigh the content? An extraordinary example of this is Deltron 3030's debut album was a phenomenal feat in hip-hop history. Someone incorporated astronomy with hip-hop. He technically created a space hip-hopera, a phenomenal debut album introducing his full capability. Completely original, completely unique from anything I've heard. I guess the closest would essentially be a Busta Rhymes album, When Disaster Strikes and or Extinction Level Event, but that's a stretch. 10 years later, a second album comes. And of course, no artist says that I want to give the audiences the same thing over and over again. So he resorts to creating a concept album to take place in a post-apocalyptic environment. So he researches until he has his lyrics scientifically accurate. The Event 2 drops, and you can't hear a word, because everything is drowned out by this post-apocalyptic concept. So Del returns to Earth, this post-apocalyptic environment where niggas are against niggas just to survive, and the world is led by corruption, and the elite are blinded by vanity, and the world has everything except the brilliance of Deltron 3030. But unfortunately, the concept outweighs the content. I think the album did well, but I don't think it did as well as his debut album. Maybe it's just that this post-apocalyptic concept has been used over and over and overused. Maybe he should have tried something new, like the Earth collapsed and rebuilt itself, like in Megazone. After the complete destruction of this post-apocalyptic world, the planet Earth turns in on itself, crumbles all of existing society, and replenishes itself to square one. And there's only a small group of people starting over in this plush green Earth, restored to its natural state. Then, Deltron and Automata return to this Earth having left during its demise. They return to the Earth to relay from these past abuses from people to each other and the Earth, while having to join these people and start new from scratch. And the trouble even Del is having, getting used to having no electricity, hunting for food, and how the technology that Del brings to the future begins to corrupt these pure people, starting the cycle again. Very much Rush 2112. Anyways, so this is how I am measuring the now with regards to concept over content. Thank you for watching the Gorillaz Now for fans. I do apologize if the video is a bit trippy, as the Gorillaz do revel in trippy material. If you'd like to see a candid, brief history of entire Gorillaz discography, leave it in the comments below.